David Thompson had long learned to navigate the quiet corners of his small rural town, where the gentle rhythm of life contrasted starkly with the tumultuous memories of his past. For years, the veteran's days had been measured in hesitant footsteps along dusty roads and silent moments in an isolated home on the outskirts, where the pain of loss and the unyielding burden of guilt seemed to accompany him like an unshakable shadow. Every sunrise brought with it both the promise of another day and the echo of distant explosions and frantic commands from a time that still reverberated deep within him. Though he had once been a soldier in faraway Afghanistan, the war had never truly left him. Now 7 years removed from his deployment, David struggled with the remnants of post-traumatic stress disorder, a constant companion that made even the simplest encounters fraught with anxiety and sorrow. At the urging of his therapist, who had carefully guided him on the path toward healing, with small, gentle steps, David found himself at the threshold of a local animal shelter one crisp morning. The suggestion had come as nothing more than a cautious recommendation, a means to reconnect with the world around him without the pressure of re-entering the chaos of crowded human interaction. As he stepped through the worn wooden door of the shelter, David felt a tide of trepidation mix with a spark of hope. The interior was modest, illuminated by soft, natural light that filtered through high windows, lending a somnolent warmth to the room. Rows of kennels lined the corridor, each one echoing with muffled barks and whimpers that seemed to speak of lives waiting for a second chance. For a long moment, David moved slowly past the cages, his eyes drifting over the various dogs that in their own quiet way sought companionship and hope. Yet, amidst the anxious shuffling and bittersweet symphony of canine voices, nothing stirred. The embers of memory or set his heart aflame until he reached the final kennel. There, nestled in a corner as if shying away from the light, sat an older German shepherd, whose eyes met his with a familiarity that shook him to his core. The gaze was not merely that of an animal seeking refuge. It was a look that held a profound understanding of sacrifice, loyalty, and unspoken promises. In that instant, David understood without words that he was standing before Maximus, the companion, who had once stood by his side during the most harrowing days of war. In the stillness that followed, the connection between the veteran and the dog deepened in a way that transcended spoken language. Maximus's eyes shone with an intelligence that mirrored the depth of a life lived under extraordinary circumstances. It was as though time had folded back on itself, and for a fleeting moment, the heavy silence that had burdened David since his return from Afghanistan was punctuated by the rekindling of a long-forgotten bond. The memories came flooding in, days marked by danger and camaraderie, a relentless pursuit of survival in a hostile landscape, and the unbreakable trust forged between a man and the dog who had saved his life. Even though those memories lay hidden, under years of pain and isolation, they surged forward now with a force that demanded recognition and healing. At that moment in the shelter, under the gentle hum of fluorescent lights and the low murmur of distant voices, David reached out and placed a trembling hand on the cool metal of the kennel door. His heart pounded with a mingling of disbelief, relief, and overwhelming emotion. Maximus, though weakened by time and the hardships of past battles, responded with a quiet enthusiasm, as if he too had been waiting for this very moment. In the depths of those eyes, David saw reflected not just the hardships of war, but a promise of redemption, a chance to reclaim parts of himself that had been lost in the relentless tide of grief and regret. David's journey to this point had been long and riddled with obstacles. Since returning from Afghanistan, he had grappled with nightmares that invaded his sleep and memories that surfaced unbidden during the quiet hours of the early morning. The world he once knew had changed irreparably, and he found himself retreating more and more into the solitude of his home. The laughter of old friends, the warmth of familiar faces, and the comforting presence of family had all become distant, echoes that only served to underscore his sense of isolation. The weight of guilt from decisions made in the crucible of combat had sapped his ability to trust or accept comfort, leaving him to contend with his pain in silence. His therapist had urged him to find solace where he might least expect it, to allow a creature unburdened by the complexities of human judgment to fill the silent void within his heart. And so, with a mixture of reluctance and a spark of longing, he had come to this small haven of hope, an animal shelter where every dog carried its own story of loss and resilience. The connection between David and Maximus was immediate and profound. Without exchanging a single word, the silent language of mutual recognition passed between them, a language that spoke of shared dangers, of nights spent huddled against the cold, and of battles both seen and felt in the soul. David felt a warmth stir in his chest, a sensation long absent since his return from a war that had left indelible scars on his spirit. Maximus, his scarred yet steadfast companion, was a testament to loyalty, unwavering, enduring, and capable of mending even the deepest wounds of the heart. In that quiet moment, it was as if every fragment of pain, every lost piece of hope, found solace in the simple presence of a creature who had once risked everything for him. There was a subtle shift in the air, a stirring that promised a gradual, painstaking journey toward healing and rediscovery. Over time, David decided to welcome Maximus into his life once again. The home that had long been a place of solitude now found a new rhythm with the return of the companion who had been in many ways a guardian of his soul. The initial days were marked by gentle steps, long, cautious walks along the winding paths of the countryside, shared silences filled with an unspoken understanding, and moments of reflection where David would catch his breath and gaze into Maximus's wise, tired eyes. Each stride they took together was a small victory, a reaffirmation that life, however fragile, was worth embracing. Slowly, the heavy chains of the past began to loosen, replaced by the promise of a future replete with shared journeys and quiet, healing moments. As the days melted into weeks and the weeks into months, a transformation began to take root. David's once muted existence found resonance in the soft padding of paws on familiar soil. The loyal dog, once withdrawn and hesitant to trust, began to open up, shedding layers of pain with each passing day. In return, Maximus reveled in the steady companionship and gentle care that David offered. Their bond was a delicate tapestry, woven with threads of forgiveness, resilience, and an unyielding commitment to one another. In the serene light of early mornings and the tranquil hues of dusk, they rediscovered the beauty in every shared glance, every exchanged breath, a language, without words, rich in emotion and layered with meaning. Even as the healing process unfolded, life's impermanence made its presence known. The inevitable passage of time began to manifest in Maximus's slowing gait and the faint tremor in his once steadfast stance. The loyal companion, who had once darted fearlessly across fields and obstacles alike, was now met with the quiet reminder of his own mortality. It was during these quieter, reflective days that David received news that would test the depths of his enduring compassion. Maximus had been diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer, an affliction that slowly sapped the remaining vigor from his body. The prognosis was disheartening, a cruel reminder of the fragility that lay beneath even the most valiant exteriors. Yet in the face of this heartbreak, David chose to celebrate every moment with unyielding gratitude. There was a raw beauty in the frailty of Maximus, a vulnerability that brought the two together in an unwavering circle of mutual care. With each day that passed, David strove to make their time together rich with meaning. He would wake early to share a quiet cup of coffee on the porch, watching the mist lift as the sun slowly embraced the hills in a tender caress. The simple act of walking through the fields became a meditation on life, each step a measure of endurance, every shared glance a moment of solace from the relentless march of time. One day, in a moment that encapsulated the spirit of their enduring bond, a sudden danger emerged that echoed the past in a most unexpected way. A fire, unbidden and swift, broke out in the old homestead that had been David's refuge for so many years. In the early hours, while the world was still shrouded in sleep, the acrid scent of smoke began to seep into the room. In that heart-stopping moment, when fear threatened to overwhelm the fragile calm of the morning, it was Maximus who became the vigilant guardian once more. With a determined urgency that belied his weakening body, the loyal dog stirred David from his restless sleep. In a flurry of urgency and unwavering focus, Maximus led David out of the burning home, guiding him safely away from the encroaching flames, just as he had once shielded him in the midst of war's chaos. It was a final, heroic act that encapsulated the unbreakable thread of loyalty woven between them, a poignant reminder that in the darkest moments, love finds a way to light even the most desolate path. In the wake of that harrowing escape from the fire, the fragile reality of time became ever clearer. Maximus's condition continued to decline, the ravages of his illness slowly overtaking the courageous spirit that had defined his life. Yet even as his strength waned, the steadfast presence of the dog remained a constant source of comfort for David. Every day became a cherished gift, a tapestry of whispered comforts, shared glances that spoke of unspoken promises, and silent, steadfast companionship that transcended the boundaries of pain. David nurtured each moment, aware that the time they had together was both fleeting and infinitely precious. In the quiet solitude of long nights and the soft hues of lingering dusk, the man and his loyal friend forged a sacred covenant of remembrance and love. As the inevitable end drew near, David found solace in the profound gratitude that he felt for every moment shared with Maximus. In the bittersweet hours of the final day, the world seemed to slow down, as if in deference to the gravity of their bond. With a tenderness that defied the harshness of circumstance, David cradled Maximus in his arms, whispering words of love and farewell into the soft fur of a companion who had been by his side through every storm and every moment of despair. The loyal dog, whose eyes had borne witness to both the horrors of war and the healing embrace of unconditional love, passed away peacefully in that sacred moment. There were no grand gestures, no dramatic farewells, only the quiet, enduring truth that some bonds, no matter how tested by time and tragedy, remain eternal. In the days that followed, the quiet town bore witness to David's transformation. Where once the veteran had been lost in solitude and sorrow, his days now resonated with a gentle peace, a tranquility born of the love that Maximus had so selflessly given. David organized a small, heartfelt memorial for his fallen companion, a humble ceremony in which he gathered friends, neighbors, and fellow veterans to share stories of a dog who had not only saved a life on the battlefield, but had also opened a wounded heart to hope and healing. With every word spoken and every tear shed in the remembrance of Maximus's life, the community embraced the truth that the bonds between a soldier and his service dog were more than mere memories. They were living testaments to courage, sacrifice, and the transformative power of love. The legacy of Maximus lived on not just in the quiet corners of David's heart, but in the lives of all who witnessed the strength of their connection. In every tender gesture and every silent tribute, there was a celebration of a bond that had transcended the boundaries of pain and despair. For David Thompson, the journey toward healing was marked by the rediscovery of his capacity for joy, the renewal of trust in the simple, unassuming moments of companionship, and the quiet assertion that even in the face of great loss, love remains a beacon of hope. In time, as the seasons changed and the small rural town continued its unhurried dance with nature, David began to feel the stirrings of a new beginning. The haunting memories of war, once so all-consuming, gradually softened into distant echoes, a reminder of the past that, while indelible, no longer held dominion over his future. The gentle spirit of Maximus became interwoven with the fabric of his being, a constant presence that whispered of resilience, compassion, and a belief that healing was possible even in the deepest of wounds. In the quiet moments before dawn, and in the soft glow of sunset, David would close his eyes and sense the enduring love of a faithful friend, a presence that would forever guide him toward a life filled with purpose and peace. The narrative of David and Maximus stands as a powerful reminder that the healing process is not measured solely by the passage of time, but by the willingness to open one's heart to forgiveness and to the unpredictable, transformative power of love. Though scars both seen and unseen may forever mark the remnants of battle, they are also emblems of survival, badges of honor that testify to the strength of the human spirit when nurtured by loyal companionship. Through the shared silence of a rural town, the gentle whispers of the wind, and the soft heartbeat of a noble friend, David learned that true healing lay not in erasing the past, but in accepting it as a part of a larger, ongoing journey toward redemption. And so, as the final chapter of their intertwined lives was written with quiet dignity and unwavering affection, David Thompson came to embody the true meaning of resilience. The memory of Maximus, a cherished guardian, a loyal companion, and an emblem of unwavering hope remained eternally etched in his soul. In every sunrise, in every shared laugh and moment of quiet reflection, the legacy of their bond served as a constant reminder that healing is a journey best traveled together, and that even in the midst of life's most profound sorrows, there can be found moments of grace, compassion, and the enduring promise of a better tomorrow. In the lingering embrace of that heartfelt farewell, David found that his journey toward wholeness was not one he would ever walk alone. With each step taken on the soft, familiar paths of his rural town, the memory of Maximus shone like a beacon of love, a guiding light that carried him forward into the promise of new beginnings, where every day was an opportunity to honor a bond that had once saved him from the ravages of despair and that would forever illuminate the uncharted path of hope and healing.